Music licensing for podcasts, more complex than you'd think. The latest from Podnews.net with Memberful, helping you build reliable, recurring revenue from your podcast. Ask anyone, including us, about playing commercial music on your podcast and we'll say no, at least not without a license. But how easy is music licensing? Winslow Bright is a music supervisor for film, audiobooks and podcasts. We asked her what's involved with music supervision and licensing for podcasts. You'll find a full interview in our show notes and our newsletter today. What is YouTube's plan for podcasting? YouTube's CEO, Susan Wojcicki, says she's excited about podcasts and said in an interview that YouTube will be a good opportunity for people who are producing podcasting to generate revenue and have more distribution. A Sky News investigation in the UK has discovered anti-Semitism, racism and white supremacist material in podcasts on Spotify. Spotify has removed 150 hours of content after the news channel's report. After dismal audience figures, the all-podcast radio format has been dropped by iHeartRadio from its 2 AM radio stations KABQ Albuquerque in favour of Christmas music and WSAN in Bethlehem in Philadelphia in favour of oldies. Surely they're the wrong way round. Anyway, iHeart-owned Inside Radio reports that both stations only managed a 0.1% market share. There is still one radio station going, playing non-stop podcasts. It's called iHeart Podcast 95.9 WEBG. It's an FM station licensed to serve Mena in New York, which has a population of 1,016, and is audible in parts of Erie in Philadelphia. iOS use is increasing, says Scientia Mobile's Mover report. Android devices are still the majority of mobile phones used across the world, though, with 60% of the North American market. Of note, 88% of all iPhones can use Apple Podcasts paid subscriptions, according to the data, showing phones running iOS 14.5 and over. NPR's College Podcast channel is back for 2022. JioSaavn has published its look back at 2021, and Ghana is running a contest to promote your podcast. In People News today, co-founders of the Wonder Media Network, Shira Atkins and Jenny Kaplan, have been named in the media category of the Forbes 30 Under 30. Congratulations to them. So Monday, so time for some tech stuff. People using the popular Umbrel Bitcoin node software will soon be able to see boostergrams from listeners. The Podcasting 2.0 app, codenamed Helipad, has now been submitted to the Umbrel App Store for approval. And if you don't mind using SSH in a terminal window, we link to how you can install it now if you like. Chartable's tracking is pulling ahead of Podtrac, according to new data from John Spurlock. The company's tracking prefix was found on 4.3% of all new podcast episodes published in November. And PodLP is enabling transcripts shortly within its app and has posted a nice demo of it. The podcast transcript tag is supported by podcast hosts like Buzzsprout, Captivate, Casterpod, Fireside FM and others. And in podcast news, the Sound Off podcast has me as a guest this week, talking about podcasting and radio. The show includes listener questions, which is quite a nice idea. It works well. The podcast focuses on radio and audio in Canada and is hosted by Matt Kundle. This podcast is brought to you with Memberful. Memberful's the easiest way to sell memberships to your audience. It's used by the biggest creators on the web. You can now send paid email newsletters directly through Memberful. You don't need to connect to a third-party email provider at all. And optionally, you can publish your paid newsletter content to a Memberful-hosted members-only website if you want to as well. Memberful fades into the background as your brand shines, it says here, which is a lovely thing, isn't it? You can find out more at Memberful.com. That's MEMBERFUL.com. And that's the latest from our daily newsletter at podnews.net.